Unmute, na? This is share screen, na? Where it is? Not coming? No, Benny.
हाँ से बात सर्टिफिकेट आछी मिलन को
Well, 1 to 13, 25 members were joined. Sir, shall we wait for 2 more minutes? Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We can wait for 2 minutes more.
Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes,
Sir, shall we wait for 2 more minutes?
yes, yes, sure, sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Am I audible? Yes. Something went wrong, I think. It is echoing is coming, I think.
Is it okay now?
Yes, yes. Okay, sir. I will start now. Maybe 40 to 50 members were joined so far. So let them join in between, I think. Very good afternoon to you all. I warmly welcome all of you to the second day session of 1 week National Capacity Building Program on Research Methodology for Social Sciences. Before starting the program, it is my duty to express my gratitude and sincere thanks to the university authorities and our beloved head, Professor G. Sanjharani, my head, Women's Studies Center and Department, and organizing secretary of this 1 week National Capacity Building Program. I also cordially welcome our valuable resource person, Professor B.P. Sahu, Head, Department of Adult and Continuing Education, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, for his ready acceptance to be the resource person for the today's program. When I called him, he accepted me and also encouraged me to conduct the program. Thank you so much, sir. In spite of your busy schedule, you have accepted and graced the occasion. Thank you, sir. And I deem it a privilege to invite all the participants, without whose participation this webinar would not be a success. Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself, madams. And before starting the program, I would like to introduce today's resource person, Professor B.P. Sahu, to this elite group. And Professor B.P. Sahu started his career as a part-time lecturer in Kurukshetra University. He was the founder member and head in the Department of Social Work, BPO College, Kurukshetra. He was also the founder member and head of the Department of Social Work in Assam University, Silchar. At present, he is working as a professor and head of the Department of Adult and Continuing Education, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. He has produced 15 research scholars to his credit, and also he is the author for 17 books and 41 articles. His area of specialization is human resource development. He also handled and produced several MOOC programs as coordinator for the Northeastern area and conducted several training programs for the faculty who are involved in the MOOC programs. And he is also a regional coordinator for the training programs for preparing e-content at his area of work. And also he has trained several faculty members in preparing the e-content. Maybe what I heard about him is he definitely uses to conduct at least 15 days, one training program for fortnight. Likewise, every month he will be busy in conducting the training programs and discharging his duties and responsibilities as head of the department at Department of Adult and Continuing Education, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. In spite of his very busy schedule, he has accepted to act as a resource person for today's program. I must be thankful to you, sir, for your kind acceptance. Thank you, sir. Now the session is over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Uma. So warm welcome in this cold weather in Shillong. And thank you for your praising words, although I don't deserve all these. And thanks to the head of the department for giving me the opportunity to be part of your program. I feel privileged to be with you all today. And my special thanks goes to Dr. Uma for taking the initiative and organizing such a nice program. So, ma'am, if you give me the opportunity, should I go directly to my topic? Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Yeah. Can I go to the go for my presentation?
Yeah, you can. Just now I will allow you to share.
Okay.
Yeah, you can, sir.
Is my PPT is visible to the participants?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So again, before I start, I thank the organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be part of you, and for another 2 hours we'll be deliberating on the topic research methodology, quantitative and qualitative research. All of us, when we are in academics, we have to go for our research programs, either guiding students or producing articles or writing books or doing some projects. We need to have we need some echo is coming, ma'am. Some echo is coming. Ma'am, some echo is coming.
Yes, I think some of the people are talking. I think cross-talking is there.
Yeah, please.
I request all the people to mute yourself, please.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. You are audible.
Okay. So all of us being in the field of teaching, we need to understand some basics of quantitative and qualitative research. Now, research is such a field that you go on adding knowledge to it, it will never come to an end. It's a learning process for all of us since the day that we start doing research. Now, today's topic, understanding quantitative and qualitative research. If you talk of quantitative research, it is in fact, no research is completely quantitative or no research is completely qualitative. It is a mixed one. Some research, they have more quantitative contents, and some research, they have more qualitative contents. And if you see the uses of quantitative research, we use quantitative research in various fields of social sciences, maybe sociology, maybe anthropology, maybe education, maybe demography, maybe psychology, maybe economics or gender studies. Okay. Now, when we talk of quantitative here refers to some we understand that it involves certain types of numbers, certain types of quantitative, certain types of numbers. Now, in social science, when we talk of quantitative research, it is first thing, research is a systematic study. The second one, it is empirical in nature, which means that we have to go to the field, we have to collect the data from the field itself. And in this quantitative research, it is associated with certain quantitative properties or certain phenomena that we observe in the field. And we try to find out the relationship between the various phenomena which we try to observe or we try to collect from the field itself. Now, all of us, we know that there are two types of data. One is primary data and another is secondary data. Okay. Now, when we collect the data from the field directly from the respondents from the field, then it is called as primary data. And when it has been collected by some other researcher, and we are using that data at a particular point of time, that is called as the secondary data. Now, when we talk of quantitative research, we can use primary data, we can use secondary data, and also we can use both primary and the secondary data. Okay. Now, when we talk of census or national database, these are all called as macro data sets because it is collected, from a huge population spreading across a lot of geographical areas. So these are called as the macro data sets. And as I have already told you that whenever we are doing research, we can use the data from the census, we can use the data from the national databases, we can use the secondary data, we can use the primary data for conducting a quantitative research. Okay. And the focus is on primary data, but the secondary data or the macro data sets that we get from other researchers, those who have done the work, that is used to supplement the primary data that we have collected from the field. For example, you see, I have given you, suppose we are studying the land ownership among women in a particular state or a particular district. Now we collect data from a group of women selected for study, and that becomes the primary data. Whereas if you go to the land registration records, which are available in the revenue offices, these are secondary data. And these secondary data used to supplement or used to support the primary data that has been collected from these women. Now, is it clear that in quantitative research, the first thing to sum up, that we collect data from primary sources and we supplement the data. That from secondary and the macro data sets. Okay. Now, as I have already told you, the secondary data is usually enables us to supplement our primary data. It enables us to help in writing our interpretation. it enables us to help in writing about the discussion of the results. So see how primary data is being supplemented by the which we are collecting through empirical studies is being supplemented through the secondary data. Now, now let's come to the objectives of quantitative research. Three things you need to keep in mind, that whenever we are going for quantitative research, the ultimate aim is to use the first one, a mathematical model, second one, to use certain theory, and third one, you can use certain hypothesis or certain hypothesis. Now, if you are testing a particular theory, if you are developing a mathematical model, or if you are putting certain hypothesis, then you can go for quantitative research. Usually in social sciences, usually in economics or in demographic studies, we try to develop a mathematical model. In commerce, in business management, we try to develop a mathematical model. And in social science, we try to develop a particular theory. We try to develop a particular theory, on the basis of our empirical studies that we conduct in the field. Or we can go for testing of the hypothesis. Now, what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is a tentative generalized statement which can be subjected to testing. That means here we test using certain mathematical tools. So there we go for hypothesis. I'll not be going in details about the hypothesis because it will be taken up by some other resource person. Now, if you are going, we go for, yes, many of us in social science, in adult education, in sociology, in anthropology, they go for hypothesis testing because this is one of the easiest means of doing things. Developing a particular theory or developing a particular mathematical model are little bit difficult. But in order to understand the quantitative research, we must understand three things. Three elements are involved in quantitative research. The first one is the concepts, the second one is the constructs, and the third one is the variables. Now, without this, in fact, we understand, many of us, we understand what is a variable. What is a variable? Because usually it is used in hypothesis testing. But many of us, we do not know what are concepts and what are constructs. Now, these three things, these three elements are very, very important to understand the phenomena of quantitative research. So at least today, I'll be able to make you clear what do you understand by concepts, what do you understand by constructs, and what do you understand by variables. If you understand these three elements, it will be easier for us to conduct a quantitative research. Now, so first we'll go to concepts and constructs. Now, you see, Kerlinger in the year 1973, he has defined what is a concept. Now, concept is nothing but it is an abstract idea. It is an, in our mind, whenever we are doing a particular research, a lot of ideas emerges in our mind. Lot of ideas emerges in your mind because when you go through review of literature, then lot of idea, because you think, you try to analyze, you try to organize, you try to synthesize the things that you have read, then certain abstract ideas will come into your mind. Okay, and these abstract ideas, which are formed by generalization from the particulars that you have studied, that is what is called as the concept. That means when you summarize the related observations, that you go when you go to the field and you summarize the observations that you have made in the field, that becomes an abstract idea, and that is nothing but a concept. To put it in a very simple language, for example, you are going to the field you are seeing a particular house. Okay, if you go to a village, first thing that you will see what type of houses it is there. Okay, now if you want to describe that particular house, how to describe, how to summarize a particular house, you see that there are 4 walls, there are thatched roofs, there are tiles, the concrete structure is there. These are the observations that you have made. And when you summarize these related observations, that gives rise to what is called as a house. That is abstract idea. Okay. Now, for example, this is what, when you go to the field and you observe certain phenomena. Now, for example, if you are doing certain women's and gender studies. Okay. Now, what is a gender? What is empowerment? What is feminism? These are nothing but these are concepts. Okay. And these concepts, they make meaningful summaries of the various observations. I will explain it. I will explain it a little further. Now, the concepts and the constructs, these summarizes. When you summarize this helps the researcher to organize their observations, to organize their data. And once you organize your observations, once you organize your data, it will enable you to explain the pattern of that particular phenomena that is being observed, or from where the data has been collected. Okay, so this is regarding concepts and constructs. Now, concepts. Now we come to construct. So first thing that remember that if you don't, that concept is nothing but it is an abstract idea which is summarized from the observations that you have made in the field. Okay, and when you study, for example, this one you must understand: gender, empowerment, feminism. These are all concepts. Okay, now if you understand what is gender, what is empowerment, what is feminism, what are the dimensions of gender, what are the dimensions of empowerment, what are the dimensions of feminism, then it will be helpful for you. Like house, house has several parts: 4 walls, thatched roof, tiles, concrete structure. Similarly, here in case of gender, here in case of empowerment, in case of feminism, there are various dimensions, or there are various observations which will help you to summarize. That will lead to an abstract idea, and this abstract idea is nothing but called as the concept. Okay, now come to the construct. Now, construct is nothing but it is a combination of the concepts. First thing, it is combination of concepts, but difficult to observe directly. You cannot observe these things directly. It is very difficult because it is related to our behavioral patterns. Okay, I will give an example. For example, in gender studies, you study patriarchy. What is patriarchy? It is an attribute which defines the gender studies. Okay, it is a state of social thinking. It is a concept. Now, what are the concepts involved in this patriarchy? The first one, superiority of men. The second one, submission of women. The third one, exploitation of women. The fourth one, violence against women. Now, patriarchy you cannot see. Can you see patriarchy? That's why it is difficult to observe directly. You cannot see patriarchy, but its presence can be determined. The presence can be determined. And how presence can be determined? Because you see these variables: superiority of men, submission of women, exploitation of women, violence against women. Okay, and these things you need to study. Then only you can talk about patriarchy. Okay, then only you can talk about patriarchy. And how to study these things? These things can be studied through a questionnaire or any particular standardized test. Okay, so what is construct? Construct is nothing but a combination of concepts which you cannot directly observe in the field, but you can infer from the related behavior, pattern, related behavioral pattern, as you see in the society about these 4 dimensions: superiority of men, submission of women, exploitation of women, violence against women. Now we conduct studies on these. Then we define what patriarchy is. That comes under the gender studies. Okay, so I have told you what is a concept. Now I have told you that construct is nothing but a combination of concepts that is difficult to observe in the field, but you can infer this from the related behavioral patterns, and these can be studied through a questionnaire or a standardized test. Okay, now another important thing, that is the concept. After concept, then construct, then we come to variable. Now when we talk of variable, which is not static, it changes. Variable means it changes. Okay, like an amoeba, you know, it changes its structure continuously, changes its structure. So variable is something which is not fixed, but it changes according to time, according to situation, according to space, whatever it may be. Now we'll define this variable. First thing, let's try to talk about that this variable is nothing but a phenomena which can be measured or which can be manipulated. You can manipulate the variable, and we can also measure this particular variable. Okay, and this is a phenomena. Now, as I told you that this variable is not fixed, it can take different values. It can take different values according to time, according to space, according to situation. It can take different values. Now, when we try to find out the relationship between the attributes of certain phenomena, the researcher, what they try to do, they try to test the number of associated variables associated with that particular phenomena. Now, when they identify the variables, and they try to develop a meaning or relationship among the variables, sorry, try to understand the meaning or underlying those variables and the relationship among variables, that gives rise to a quantitative research. I will give a very simple example. Now, education is one of the variables. Okay, and why we use education? We use education to describe the status of women. Now, if you want to study the status of women, you can take education as one of the variable. Okay, this is simple. Now we come to the types of variables. Okay, now when we talk of types of variables, these variables, they can be classified in terms of their relationship with each other. Now when you come to relationship, sorry, when you come to relationship, we try to study the relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable or outcome variable. I told you that in quantitative research, you have to find the relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable. Now the question arises, which is an independent variable, which is a dependent variable? Dependent variable. Now, the first thing that you understand that there are 3 types of variables, in fact. Sorry. One is independent variable, one is dependent variable, and another variable is there, intermittent variable, in between dependent and the independent. But we are mostly concerned with the 2 variables, that is independent variables and the dependent variables. Now, in independent variables, this can be varied by the researcher. It can vary. Okay, now I will give an example. Independent variables like income, education, and occupation. These are the variables which are required to study its effect on status of women. Now, status of women, it is a dependent variable because it is dependent upon the income, it is dependent upon education, it is dependent upon the occupation of women. I'm just giving an example. So in this case, status of women is a dependent variable, and income, education, and occupation, they are the independent variables. But these independent variables, it can be varied. It can be varied by the researcher. Now, again, if you read this particular one, the value of the dependent variable, it depends on the effects of the independent variables, effects or changes in the independent variables. That means when you manipulate the independent variables, the value of dependent variable will change. It will be changed. Okay. So the values of independent variables, you cannot be manipulated, but it can be only observed or it can be measured. It can be observed or it can be measured. For example, I'll go back to the this one. Now, income, you cannot manipulate the income. Can you manipulate the income? Income is 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, you cannot. You cannot manipulate the education. Occupation, you cannot manipulate. Are you getting? So these things which you cannot manipulate, you can put them in the independent variable categories. Okay. And understand that these can be observed or it can be measured. These two phenomena that you have to keep in mind, that independent variables, you cannot manipulate your education, you cannot manipulate your occupation, you cannot manipulate here, but you can observe and also you can measure these variables. Okay. Now, for example, if you see the women's educational status is the dependent variable that I have already told you. It is dependent upon these three variables I have taken. Family income, you can see, you can observe, you can measure. Parents' education, yes, you can observe, you can measure. Parents' occupation, you can observe and you can also measure what is the, whether it is falling in the upper income category or in the middle income occupation, which is falling in the middle income category. It is fixed, you cannot be manipulated. Okay. So when you are explaining the women's educational status, it is a dependent variable and it will vary. This word is important. This will vary according to the family income, parents' education, and parents' occupation. I think this makes you clear what is dependent variable and what is independent variable. Now, in social science research, the first thing that suppose we are talking of the socio-economic demographic characteristics of the respondents. Most of the variables from here, they will fall in the category of independent variables. When you draw the profile of the respondents, most of the it will come in the category of independent variables, which will be enabling you to describe the if you are studying the women's educational status. Yes, is it okay? I'm not getting any response from the participants.
Actually, I muted all the people.
Okay.
No, it is very good, sir. I just wrote a comment. It's very good examples you are giving. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I need sometimes, your input. If I'm not able to understand, you can ask me. It's not that giving too much, but giving less and observe more. That is what the principle of education is. Okay.
I am also learning, sir.
No, ma'am, you are. We learn from each other, no problem. So now, whenever we are going for a quantitative research, usually in social science we use this hypothesis. If you understand this, it will be very easy for you to frame the hypothesis, and it will be very easy for you to test the hypothesis also. Now, again, whenever we are conducting, quantitative research and we are taking the various variables into consideration, the purpose of the research study you need to understand also. This is very important, that purpose of research study. Okay. Now, you say that sir has told me that you take the socio-economic and demographic, as a independent variables. But I told you there is nothing like independent variable. There is nothing like dependent variable. It depends upon the type of the research study that you are taking, and independent variable in one study, it will become dependent variable in another study. So don't be confused. You have to fix your independent variables and the dependent variables according to the research study that you are taking. I've given an example here. A study to determine effects of women's education on age at marriage would have women's education as the independent variable and age at marriage as the dependent variable. Now, in another study, suppose I am studying reproductive health of women. This I am studying. Now here, the age of marriage, it will become an independent variable. The age of marriage. Now see, the age of marriage here is in this effects of women's education on age of marriage. This is becoming a dependent variable here. And here, the age of marriage, when I'm studying reproductive health of women, is becoming a independent variable. Okay, and the number of children born, it is becoming a dependent variable here. So it is, so that's why according to the purpose of the study, we must find out what are the independent variables and what are the dependent variables. Okay. Now we come to the different forms of variables. Different forms of variables. Now there are only two forms of variables in social science research. There are two forms of variables. One is discrete and another is continuous. Another is continuous. Very easy to remember. One is discrete variable and another is continuous variable. Okay. Now, what is a discrete variable? When we talk of variables, in social science research, the students, they used to run away. But it is not very difficult. It is not very difficult, to find out which is a discrete variable, which is a continuous variable. Now, when we talk of discrete variables, the first thing that you must understand that it has finite set of values. That means it cannot be divided into subparts. Now, very difficult to understand what is finite set of values. It cannot be divided into subparts. But see this example. In a class, the number of female students in a class, it is a discrete variable. It is a discrete variable because it may be 25, it may be 21, it may be 23, it may be 5 or 6. Now, because in discrete variable, it is the unit which matters. Unit means 1. Now, you cannot say that there are 2.25 female students in a class. Can you say this one? You cannot say, because this 0.25 is not defined. You cannot conceptualize this 0.25. This 0.25 is, you cannot conceptualize. So this is an example of discrete variable. It includes finite set of values. It cannot be divided into subparts. So just remember this particular example. It will help you. This particular example, it will help you to tell that whether your variable is discrete or it is continuous. It is very simple example. Okay. Now, population. When you talk of population, it is in numbers. It is in numbers. It cannot be in points. 0.25, 0.36. Sex, male or female or transgender, whatever it may be. So that is fixed. Sex. Religion, religious affiliation. Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, it doesn't have any point values. So these are simple discrete variables. Yes, have you understood about discrete variables, participants?
Yes, sir.
So usually this is we don't think that these are discrete. We just say that these are the variables. But now you must know that these are discrete variables. Then we go to the continuous variables. Now, Discrete variables, that is in unit, but it can be broken in parts. Okay, for example, your height. You cannot say that my height is exactly 131 centimeter or 132 centimeters. So it is 131.5. That means it has got point value. It has got point value. Okay. Now, the time spent by women on household tasks. Okay. It may be 1.5 hours or 1.1 hour, 15 minutes or 2 hours, 25 minutes for cooking, washing, whatever it may be. So these are broken into meaningful parts. So this is continuous variables. We can talk of 0.15 hours or 0.25 hours, and this carries some meaning. It is not that they don't have any meaning. They have some meaning, but you cannot say 0.5 Hindu, 0.5 Muslim. Or are you getting my point? So this is what, what is the difference between a continuous and discrete variable. So nothing new. Everyone you are knowing, but thing is that you must know it in a proper way, and how to utilize it. I'll come, I'll come in the next slide. Then, usually in science, usually in social science, we talk of quantitative and qualitative variables because we talk of quantitative studies and we talk of qualitative studies. So we must understand what are these quantitative variables and what are the qualitative variables. Okay. Now quantity, you are going to the market, you are purchasing 2 kg of vegetables, or that is a quantity. So quantity variables you can express in terms of numbers. You can express in terms of numbers. Okay, for example, height, weight, and age, these things you can express in terms of numbers. So these are quantitative variables. Okay, whereas what are the qualitative variables? Your attributes, your qualities, your attributes or qualities. Simple. Your attributes or qualities, these are qualitative variables. For example, if I ask you what is the color of your eyes, someone will tell black, someone will tell brown, someone will tell gray, someone will tell green. Now these are nothing. This color of your eyes, these are nothing but the qualitative variables. Okay, I'll give an example. Another example: the satisfaction of women with the health services. How the women there, whether they are satisfied or they are not satisfied with the health services. Now, these are descriptive attributes, or these are the qualities, qualitative variables. Okay, satisfied or dissatisfied. These are this shows the quality of service, the quality of service. So that's why they're coming under the qualitative variables. So quantitative variables and qualitative variables, we know when you talk of attributes, when you talk of qualities, these are called qualitative variables. Okay, and in case of quantitative, in a quantitative, these are which can be expressed in numbers or which can be expressed in quantities, that is quantitative variables. Okay, so I've told you quantitative and qualitative variables. Then discrete and continuous variables. Participants, am I clear? If I'm clear, then I'll go to the...
Yes, sir.
Okay. These are all things that you know, but just to tell you in a different way so that you can remember. It is not that you know all these things have been taught to you. Now we come to measurement. Now, why measurement? In quantitative research, measurement is central. That means if you are not able to measure a particular phenomena or particular attributes or the quality that you have observed in the field, you cannot go for quantitative research. Okay. Now, in quantitative research, whatever variables that you are going to study under a particular field or under a particular phenomena, then you must measure it. If you are not able to measure, you are not doing a quantitative research. Okay. So in quantitative research, measurement is fundamental. It is fundamental. And because you are going for empirical observation or mathematical expression of the quantitative relationship. That means in a quantitative relationship, quantitative means it concerned with numbers. It concerned with numbers. So the researcher, what he is trying to do, he is trying to assign certain numbers to the objects or to the events or to the properties according to certain rules. Be very clear. In measurement, in quantitative research is concerned with measurement of certain variables in the field. It is associated with certain mathematical expression that you are going to give, and you in the quantitative relationship between the independent and the dependent variables. Okay, so numbers is very, very important. That means you are assigning certain numbers to the objects or to the events or to the properties according to certain rules. Now, for example, you are saying that during this COVID period, the unemployment rate, increased by 5%, increased by 5% or 6% or 7%, whatever it may be. What you are doing, this unemployment is a phenomena. It is a phenomena. Now, this phenomena, you are giving a number, you are assigning a number according to the study that you have conducted, that it has increased by 5. Okay, now in 2001 census, this the female literacy rate was 54%. This is a number, 54%. Okay, as estimated in 2001 census. This is just an example. It may not be exactly 54%, whatever. Okay, now see, in quantity, it is very easy for us to measure height, to measure weight, or to see the time and tell what is the time. It is very easy for us to measure these phenomena. But when you measure, like, how much beautiful you are, what type of friendship that you are having, and choosing a religion, choosing a religion, if you are changing your religion or you want to choose a particular religion, these are very abstract phenomena. Okay, and these attributes like beauty, choosing a religion or friendship, it is not relatively easy to measure the properties of this. Okay, so whereas the quantitative attributes like height, weight, and time, it can be easily measured, but these phenomena, it is not easy to measure. Okay. Now, to measure this, we have got 4 types of measurement. One is nominal, the second one is ordinal, third one is interval, and fourth one is ratio. Okay, now participant, you tell me, before I explain to you, which phenomena, which type of measurement you do usually in social science research. Is it nominal, it is ordinal, interval, ratio, which one? Just to let you know, to think that whether you understand or not, that is different issue. Can you tell me which one?
Upon the research, type of research and
topics.
topics.
Okay. Mostly. I'm talking of mostly. It is nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio. Participants, can you tell me? No. Okay. So let's try to understand what is nominal, what is ordinal measurement, what is interval measurement, and what is ratio measurement, and which type of measurement that we usually stick more in case of social science research. Okay. Now, understand this. I asked you this question. Now, the nominal level is the least powerful form of measurement. That means we use very less in social science research. Okay, and it's very easy. It's very easy also. Now, for example, I'll give an example. The matter, there are 3 states of matter. In class 6 book, the first physics, it is there: matter, solid, liquid, and gas. Yes or no? Now, what you do, you are studying matter. Okay, so so what we are doing, we are just assigning a numerical value: 1 to solid, 2 to liquid, 3 to gas. Okay, now this is nothing but this has formed a nominal scale: 1 to solid, 2 to liquid, 3 to gas. Now suppose you are observing a table. You are seeing that in a classroom there is a table. So it is what? It is, Patricia, I'm in class. Hello. I'm taking the class now. After finishing, then so if you see a table, then you will put it in which category? Number 1. Yes or no? Because it is a solid. If you see a glass of water, water is there. Okay, so that you will put it in the liquid. So you are giving a label. That means all those solids, they will fall under category 1. All the liquids will fall in category 2, and all the gases, maybe hydrogen, maybe oxygen, maybe nitrogen, maybe whatever. So it will be in the form of gas. Now we are not differentiating here hydrogen, oxygen, or nitrogen. But we are telling that just they fall under category 3. You fall under category 1. The solids fall under category 1, and liquids fall under category 2. Okay, the numericals that we are assigning here, 1, 2, 3, these are just the labels. Okay, these are just the labels, and they have no mathematical significance at all. Okay, 1 doesn't mean that you are first in the class, 2 doesn't mean that you are second, or 3 doesn't mean you are third in the class, but they are just having no mathematical significance. That's why these are least powerful form of measurement. Usually for coding, when you go for qualitative research, usually for coding, we assign 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. You understand? But here in the nominal level, this is the least powerful form of measurement in quantitative research. Okay, so have you understood all the nominal level?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we'll go to the. So if you have understood this, I'll just skip. I have given another example. I think you have understood this one. I need not have to go to another example. I'll go to the ordinal level. Okay. Now, in the ordinal level, you have to classify and arrange persons. The first one, the objects, characteristics according to ranks. Remember, ordinal level is related to ranks. It is related to ranks. Okay. Now, for example,
excuse me, sir, the slide is not visible. It is small.
Achha.
Actually,
Okay.
it is visible, madam.
Okay. I'll make it big. I'll go one by one. I'll make it big. No problem.
Of course, even in my phone also it is visible, madam.
Okay, now can you see? Can you see now?
Yes.
So remember this ordinal level, this is concerned with ranks. Now, for example, in sports, okay, suppose sports, you are organizing a sports program, 100-meter race, 200-meter race, 400-meter race, or 500-meter race, and the students, they're coming first, second, and third. Okay, they're coming, no, first, second, and third. This is nothing but the ordinal level. This is nothing but. Okay, now, an example of ordinal measurement in the area of gender studies would be ranking of women in athletics. In this case, we can only say that an athlete is higher or lower on a scale, but it is not possible to make accurate comparisons. Okay. Now, for example, we can, we can only state whether the ranking is faster than or slower than without being able to state how fast or how slow is. For example, you say that first, second, third, which means that the second person is slower than the first person. The third person is slower than the second person. This is how we give the rank, first, second, and third. But how much fast or how much slow, that we are not concerned with the ordinal. For example, in a class, there are students, 3 students, one is getting 85%, another is getting 90%, another is in 95%. We rank them 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. But we are not saying, that this is the difference between the first and the second or the third. We are not saying. We are just giving them different ranks, 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay, so you must remember this in the ordinal level. I'll just make it a little big. Ranks are used to place persons, objects, or characteristics in order. But the distance between 2 objects on a scale are not equal. Means first, second, and third, the distance between the first and the second and third is not equal. Are you getting my point? In the ordinal level? Yes, participants?
Yes, sir. Yes.
We just give rank, first, second, and third.
Very
But
clear.
we are not concerned with how much distance the first runner has run more than the second runner or the third runner. We are not giving that particular distance. These are not in an equal scale. Are you getting? It is not in an equal scale. So in that case, that is the ordinal level. Only ranking is, we are concerned with the ranks. Remember this. Any object, any person, any characteristics is based upon certain ranks. That is ordinal level. So here in the first case, nominal level 1, 2, 3. In the second case, 1, 2, 3 also rank is there, but the distance is not there. The distance is not there. Okay. Now, the nominal scales, these are widely used in research to assign data to different categories. Okay. These are assigned data to different categories in case of the nominal scales. But what is that one? Sorry. Am I going back? Yes, ordinal level.
Yes, yes.
Then we come to the interval scale. So have you understood the first 2? Now we are going to the interval scale.
Okay, sir.
Now here remember this equal value has intervals with equal value. Okay, for example, 40 to 50 degrees and 50 to 60 degrees. You know what is the interval? 40 to 50, what is the interval? 40 to 50, it is 10-degree interval. Then 50 to 60, this is also 10-degree interval. 10-degree interval. Now, in this interval scale, the same degree of heat is needed to heat an object from 40 to 50 degrees as to heat it from 50 to 60 degrees. That means we are concerned with the interval from 50 to 60. And 40 to 50, that is 10. And here 50 to 60, that is 10 degrees. Okay. Now, what is the disadvantage of this interval scale? It doesn't have a 0 point. True 0 point is not there. True 0 point is not there. I've given another example. Suppose one student is having IQ of 100 and another student is having IQ of 50. IQ of 50. Now, you cannot make a statement of a proportionate nature here that you say that this student, the student who is having IQ of 50 is twice intelligent than the student of IQ who is having 50 IQ. It is not, it is, you cannot make a statement like this in case of interval scale. Interval scale. Now, the interval scale, where we use this interval scale in quantitative research, for example, in gender studies, if we want to measure the attitude towards social values, suppose in gender studies, you want to measure the attitudes towards social values. So we make a response, agree, disagree, or undecided. Are you getting point? I'm coming to a scale form. I'm coming to a scale form, interval scale. Agree, disagree, or undecided. Okay. Now, in between agree to disagree, in between agree to disagree, the interval scale has intervals between adjacent points that are of equal value. Now, in between disagree, sorry, this undecided is same as disagree. So agree to disagree, we have a equal value. Now, so when we say that sometimes, never, always, you know, so we have a equal value towards each and every scale, each and every attribute that we have formed here. So interval level of measurement is frequently used when use this type of scale, like Likert type of scale, and it is widely used to test the attitude of the individuals. Attitude of the individuals. Now, we come to the ratio level. Now, in case of ratio level of measurement, they have properties of interval scales with true 0 point. Whereas in case of this interval scale, we do not have a true 0 point. We do not have it, because suppose you are measuring attitude, you cannot have a 0 point. You can tell that attitude is 0. It cannot be. Are you getting my point? In interval scale. But in case of ratio level, we have the properties of interval with the true 0 point. This you must remember very well. That means we have fixed 0 point is here. When we want to measure time, we start with 0. When you want to measure distance, we start with 0. When you want to measure height, we start with 0. When you want to measure weight, we start with 0. So in that case, this is a ratio level. Now, suppose a car is running at 50 kilometers per hour and another car is running at 25 kilometers per hour. So you can say that the car which is running at 50 kilometers per hour is twice faster than the car which is running at 25 kilometers per hour. This is a ratio. Ratio is 1:2. When this car will go for 1 kilometer, this car will go certainly for 2 kilometers within the same time. So when you want to measure time, distance, height, weight, these are all ratio measures. In comparison, you can make comparison from one to another with a 0 point. Whereas in case of interval scale, you do not have a 0 point. 0 point. That means here we are more concerned with the psychological variables. Whenever you are using psychological variables, you can go for the interval scale. Okay, interval scale, that I'll come a little bit later. Now, we'll summarize what we have discussed. In the nominal level, it is only concerned with classification. I told you 1, 2, 3, solid, liquid, and gas. Okay. In ordinal level, we are going for ranking, first, second, third, but we do not say how much the distance from first to second, second to third. We do not say. Only we are concerned with ranks. Okay. Now, in interval scale, we go with the properties. We go with the properties, and we go with equal value. Okay. And in the ratio scale, we have a true 0 point. Whereas in this case, interval scale, we do not have the 0 point. Have you understood? I think this is now these three levels, these four levels, nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. These are widely used in quantitative research, and we must know. It's not very difficult. We must know so that we can use it in our research studies. The next in quantitative research comes the scales and the indices. Okay, you must have heard of scales, but many of us were not familiar with indices. Okay, but it's not very difficult. When I'll give you the example, then you'll understand. You'll understand what is an indices. What is an index? Now, two types of measures are there: scales and indices. Okay. Some measures, like the number of women in a population, in a particular population of a particular state, can be adequately measured without scales and without indices. But when we talk of gender equality, which is a very complex phenomenon, suppose you want to study gender equality, it is a very complex phenomena, and we have been talking about gender till today. We are talking of empowerment of women. We are talking of, and we will be talking of for another so many years also, because this is complex phenomena. This is a very complex phenomena, and you need to develop scales and the indices to measure this particular phenomena, that is gender equality. Okay. Now, let's try to differentiate between scale and indices. Now, a scale is a measurement. Naturally, in a scale, what scale is here to measure. Okay, and here we measure the intensity of the attitudes, the intensity of the emotions. Okay, attitude, psychological variables, attitudes and emotions. Now, whereas in indices, this is a measure of quantity of some social phenomena. It is intensity and this is quantity. Are you getting my point? Scale is measuring the intensity of a particular, particular variable like attitudes and emotions, whereas indices, it is measuring the quantity of certain social phenomena. Okay, and when you will use indices, you will use ratio level of measurement. You will use ratio level of measurement when you will use indices, because it is comparison. Quantitative is there, quantitative aspect is there, so you will use the ratio level of measurement. Okay, but sales and indices, this both, they can measure ordinal measures also, ordinal measures also of the variables. Ma'am, can you give me 5 minutes break?
Okay, sir.
Can I have, because some papers I have to sign, they have to.
Sure. Please take your own time.
You can give the participants 5 minutes break. A lot of papers. Yes, sir, that's fine. Can you give me 5 minutes break so that we
Yes,
can
please take it, sir.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, you can meanwhile interact with the participants. Let me
Okay,
just,
sir. Sure. Okay, sir. Dear sirs and madams, if you have any queries or whatever may be the doubts you are having, you can post them in the chat box so that sir will clarify after the completion of his lecture to you. The questions must be on qualitative and quantitative research aspects only. And if any one of you would like to interact with the people or to have an interaction session in between the participants, you can unmute yourself and you just discuss about what are the qualitative and quantitative research aspects and nominal, ordinal, etc. You just recollect all the aspects so far you have listened. I think that will be better for your better understanding. Will you accept for my proposal, sirs and madams? Nobody is talking. Don't you want to interact with each other, sirs?
I would like to share that the session is very comprehensive, and the examples are also very good. So appropriate that the way he is taking the session, it's not leaving any doubt or questions for asking. So that is why it's like, I think people are not coming up with questions. It's really
Maybe.
very well organized with a specific example and or of all the different aspects. There are new issues in this which I have got to know for the first time. So still they are very clear. Thank you so much.
Yes, sirs. If you have any more questions or queries or clarifications, you can post it in the chat box, either in the YouTube or maybe in the Zoom. Please feel free to post your clarifications or questions. Actually, qualitative and quantitative research, among them, qualitative research will be a little bit critical one when compared with the quantitative research. But still, we are able to understand what I feel. Actually, as for my concern, qualitative research, I am very much weak in that qualitative research, but I know the procedure, how to proceed in my research aspect qualitatively and with regard to the quantitatively, but I don't know the actual terminology which will be utilized in these research, qualitative research aspects. Today, I am able to learn all these things along with you. I am also a participant along with you. Any more interaction, please? Uttam, very nice session. Thank you for your compliment, sir. But still, I need questions from you, sir. Yes, madam, Asani madam. Actually, we are the lifelong learners. What I mean, because even before organizing this program, capacity building program, I learned a lot. This time I learned how to create Zoom meetings and how to link it with the live streaming YouTube channel. All these things I just learned, and I am practically implementing all these things directly on you. Still, I am also a learner. What I feel is a teacher must be always a learner. Otherwise, he can't teach his students, his or her students. Isn't it? So better to have an interaction about this qualitative research, so that if you all interact with each other, I will learn more. What I feel. Nice to hear you, madam. Asani, madam. You have joined in the MA Women and Gender Studies course. So nice of you. A teacher is always a student, because unless and until teacher learns, she can't teach her students and she can't mold their personality. What I perceive, isn't it? I think I am boring you, but no one is talking. For conducting classes on plagiarism, I don't think so that it will be possible, or it will not be possible. I don't know, because the time is very short and the research methodology course is like an ocean where we are only a small drops. We are not at all, I feel as if I am a small drop in the ocean of a research methodology. I don't even feel that time will permit us to take another class on plagiarism also. But I will try in my next program. Actually, after getting the response from the participants for this program, I thought that I may organize another program in the coming days, maybe for 10 days or 15 days, so that it will be very, I mean, I can frame I can frame the items of the research methodology in an elaborative manner, so that I can cover all the aspects, all the chapters of the research methodology, so that you will be more enlightened. Yeah, Sir has come. Let us hand over the session to him. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
You please welcome.
Thank you very much. Now we come to the scales. Now scales are fundamental. These are commonly used in social science research, especially for studying the social attitude. Okay, and what is a scale? Scale is nothing but these are statements. These are statements which are made with respect to a particular topic. Okay, and we have a, for example, the response can be the responses, not respondents. It is wrongly written. It can be strongly agree, neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree. So what is there? The number of statements are there, number of statements. And these statements, they are framed from the various variables and its attributes. These statements are framed from the various variables that you have identified from the literature review. Okay, you must be very clear that whenever you are going for any literature review, and if you are going to go for a quantitative study and you are putting a scale, the common type of scale is the Likert type of scale. And this is an example, just an example. There are many Likert type of scales. This is just an example. Strongly agree, or you remain neutral, or disagree, or strongly disagree with that particular statement. But these strongly agree, neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree, they are having a particular weight. That means they are having a particular weight like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. In a nominal scale. So, and when you have, suppose on a particular phenomena, on a particular social attitude you are studying, social attitude, you have got 10 statements, then statements are framed. Then after that, you put the scale, strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. If it is a positive statement, so you can assign 5 to this one, then 4 to this one. Neutral, you can put it 3. You can disagree, you can put it 2, and strongly disagree, you can put it 1. If it is a positive statement, and if it is a negative statement, it will be just the opposite of that one. It will be just the opposite. Mind you, there is strongly disagree means you do not, completely disagree. You have got strong reservations. That's why it has got no 0 point. It has got no 0 point. You must be very careful. In some of the research studies, what they do, they put 0. Strongly disagree means 0. No, you cannot make it like that. If it is a positive statement, be very careful on this. And then what you do, you aggregate the total score. You produce the total score on that particular variable, which is having a lot of attributes. Okay, so all the responses in the subject that are to be added, and this has to be added to produce a single score on that particular topic or in that particular phenomena or in that attitude that you are studying in. Is it very? I think it should be clear. There is nothing doubt in this. Now, I've told you that suppose, for example, I've given an example. Women police officers should be appointed in all public police stations in the interest of women. Okay, so this is a positive statement. This is a positive statement, as you see. Now, strongly disagree, strongly agree, you put 5. Then agree, you put 4. Neutral, you put 3. Disagree, you put 2. And strongly disagree, you put it 1. Okay, so it is a positive item and you are putting the weightage. You are putting the weightage on this Likert type of scale that you are framing in. Okay. Now, another example I will show you. See, having women police officers in all police stations does not serve the interest of women. So this is a negative statement. This is a negative statement. So when you strongly agree, you put it 1 here, and strongly disagree, you put 5 here, because this is a negative item. Okay. So what we see that negatively worded items, the scores are reversed. Now, these are reversed. Why? These are reversed because to maintain attitude consistency. Okay, so in order to maintain consistency in that particular item, in that particular variable, so you need to have both positive and negative items. Now, some of the students, they ask how many positive items we should have and how many negative items we should have. Can we have all positive items? Can we have all negative items? These are the propositions that are emerging from here. Actually, there is no hard and fast rule. Whatever literature I have seen, there is no hard and fast rule how many positive statements you will have, whether it should be equal, cannot be equal, it cannot be equal. That means 5 positive statements and 5 negative statements. If you are having 10 statements, it should not be. It can be 4, 6, it can be 3, 7, it can be even 9, 1. So there is no particular way that how many positive items you are having, but how many negative items are having. But don't have all the positive items, don't have all the negative items. This is my view. But there are studies where they have given all positive items, and there are studies where they have also not all the negative items. They have not given, but you can have as many positive items, as many negative items, but maintain the score in according to the positive items and negative items, so that it will give you a consistency total result. Okay, consistent total result. So I think this is clear. Now let's come to what are the limitations of this Likert type of scale. There are some of the limitations of the Likert type of scale, because no scale is error free. Suppose you want to you are measuring a particular table length also, if you are having a scale, if you measure, there will be little bit of error. Okay. And here, when we are talking of attitude, okay, the people, they score according to their general thinking. They give the score according to the general thinking, than how they feel about the issue, because these are these qualitative attributes. You are putting these qualitative attributes in a quantitative form. So it is in a general thinking. Today you give the same 10 items, and after 2 days you give the same items, you will find the same particular person having a different total score, because it is based upon general thinking. It is not based upon the feeling about an issue. Okay. Now this scale, it can only tell us the difference in attitudes. Remember this. The scale will tell us only the difference in attitudes of the respondents, but it will never tell us how much degree of differences are there in the same scale. How much degree of differences, it is difficult to measure, but it will tell us only the differences, that whether there exists difference or there doesn't exist significant difference. Okay. But this type of scale is very easy to construct, and you can frequently use this as in measurement of the attitude of the people. Okay. So yeah, I think I have made you understand what is the Likert scale, where it is used, how you can use, what is the limitation of using this Likert type of scale. Only that you can find only the differences, but you cannot tell exactly what is the degree of the difference when you use the Likert type of scale. Okay, but it is relatively very easy to form this type of scales, especially for the measurement of the attitude of the people. Now, another widely used scale is semantic differential scale. Sumit, thoda pani do pani. Okay. Now this type of scale, this very interesting, but very few studies have been conducted on this semantic differential scale. Once I give you the example, you'll be able to understand it better. Now, they are having what? Bipolar adjectives. Remember this. Only this, if you remember, then you can understand what is semantic differential scale. Okay. For example, I'll give you an example. This is the scale. Good. Now, Women's Era magazine. Many of you must have heard of this magazine. Women's Era. Very famous magazine. Okay. Now, ratings are given. Good. Then one hyphen. Then one hyphen. Then one hyphen. Then last is bad. Okay. Now, how many missing terms are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And these are two extremes. Good and bad. Biased, unbiased. Valuable, worthless. Extreme. So that's why we say this is bipolar adjectives are used in such type of scales to measure the attitude of the people. Okay, have you understood? So what are the bipolar adjectives used here? Good and bad, biased, unbiased, valuable, worthless. Okay, so each measurement in a semantic differential scale, in measurement, they have unique set of bipolar objectives. Just extreme: good, bad, biased, unbiased, valuable, and worthless. Like this. So this type of scale not very frequently used, but this is one of the characteristics of the semantic differential scale. So, so in this scale, the name of the concept is placed at the top of a series of points by which the respondents, they rate the concept through bipolar adjectives used to measure the attitudes. Okay. Now, we come to indices. Indices is not, the potential advantage of an index. You must have heard of index. It provides a good summary of complex multi-dimensional problems like gender equality. Okay, now an index measuring gender equality, it can help to understand the complexities of the gender relationships, and you can compare it across countries and you can compare across time. Okay, so there we used indices. For example, I will give you. You must have heard of gender disparities when the first global indices designed to reflect gender disparities were the gender related development. So this is GDI and gender empowerment measure. That was part of this GDI and this GEM. They were part of the Human Development Report in the year 1995. Okay, and this GDI, Gender Development Index, it was developed to measure gender inequalities. And gender inequality is a very highly complex phenomenon used to measure the well-being of the people through Human Development Index, that is called as HDI. It takes into comparison three things: well-being, on the variables of well-being, that is on health, education, and income. Okay, so HDI, it is low if gender inequalities, it exists in the field of health, in the field of education, and in the field of income. These are the three dimensions. Okay, and these three dimensions are used to measure the country's human development. Gender. So GDI, it is a gender development index. This is used to measure a country's human development, how the country has progressed in human development. So here we use indices. Indices have come from the word index. Index. So that's why we have these two measures. Okay. Now we come to the GEM, that is gender empowerment measure. Gender empowerment measure. Now this gender empowerment measure, this was in addition to complement the measures of gender equality in terms of political, economic, and decision-making power. Now just imagine, here we are taking the broad ones: health, education, and income. But here we are taking it in the political participation, the economic well-being, and the decision-making power in order to make gender empowerment measure. Okay, and these three dimensions, political, economic, and decision-making, they include what they include: control over economic resources measured by men and women's earned income. How much men is earning and how much women is earning. There is a gender disparity on the basis of payment which is being given by an organization to men and women for the same work that is being performed by men and women. Okay, so that is measured, and the control over economic resources is measured by men and women on income. The second one, economic participation and decision making. Okay, and what are the various attributes of this? These are the variables: economic participation and decision making. The variables here are women's and men's shares of administrative work, professional work, that they are professionals, what type of profession they are practicing, managerial work, managerial work, and the technical positions they are holding. Then political participation and decision making. Okay, now if you see in the parliament, how many seats are occupied by women and how many seats are occupied by men? How many seats are? How many seats are, just 2 minutes? How many seats are occupied by men and how many seats are occupied by women? How men are forefront in the political participation sphere? How women are making decisions in the households? You know what type of decisions are taken by women in the households? What type of parda to have? What type of to have? What type of intentions to have? These minor decisions are taken by women, but the major decisions like education, health, it is taken by men. So these things are studied. And the representation in the state legislature or even in the parliament, that is being, most of you must have seen, it is till today there disparity occurs. So this gives an ample evidence, ample measure for measuring the gender empowerment. Okay, and more so the female empowerment. Gender and female, they are two different things. I do not have to explain you. Female is different and gender is different. So that then we come to gender inequality index. Ma'am, just 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes.
Okay, sir.
No, that is right. Quickly. Bring quickly. अभी sign कर रहा था. Some students are also waiting outside. I don't know what.
Yes.
Operative statements time.
Yes. This is the comparative statement. That is the.
Then you come to the GRI. So these are the, I need not have to explain this. I'm explaining this because this can be used in the quantitative studies. Otherwise, when you give examples, the students or the participants, they understand better. So that's why I've given this. Otherwise, there is no need to explain these things. But since I prepared, okay, let me explain. Gender inequality index. Now, this when if you want to make a study, what are the various variables that you can take? The various variables. The first one is the educational attainment, then economic and political participation, then reproductive health issues. Okay, these are already, it is available in the reports, but I've just compiled this so that you can understand in a quantitative research in a better perspective. Okay, now in this gender inequality index, how much women they are in disadvantaged position with respect to their empowerment, with respect to their economic activity, and with respect to the reproductive health. For all the countries of the world, that has been done by UNDP, and other agencies are also working in this particular area. Okay, so this gender inequality index it shows the loss in human development that has occurred because of the differentiation between the male and female achievements, because we have not given the right type of due to the females to achieve in the field of education, in the participation in the field of economic and political participation, and even in the reproductive health issues. So these are indices. So index and indices, they are the same thing. And I have talked about 3 types of index, and you understand what is the difference between scale and indices now. Now, the next important aspect, when we construct a particular test, all the scales that are tested, you should have its reliability and validity of measurement. I have told you what is measurement. Now I'm talking of reliability and validity. Before you go for research, the scale that you have framed, that should be reliable and it should be valid. Okay, these are the 2 qualities of a useful research. Without reliability and validity, the quality of research will be in doubt. So that's why reliability and validity is very, 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 very important. Okay, now reliability, the very simple term, how much reliable a person is, how much consistent a person is, how much dependable a person is, how much stable a person is. These are we use these 3 words we use in our day-to-day life: dependable, consistent, and stable. Okay, so this reliability is nothing but these are the 3 variables that we are talking of in case of reliability. Okay, so when we are talking of a reliable person, we say that the person is dependable, the person is consistent, and the person is stable. Similarly, for measuring a particular scale, it should be reliable. And it should be reliable means we can trust the values that we have obtained or the scores that we have obtained, that can be trusted. Okay, and how it can be trusted? How it can be trusted? If in different points of time you use the scale, in different points of time, it will give a reliable score consistently. This is very important. So what do? We develop a particular scale, we go to the field, we test it, then find out what is the total score. Yes or no? Then after 15 days again we go, then we find what is the score. It should be it will never be equal. It will never be equal, but it will be consistent. Consistent means the result that with the score or the values that we obtain will be nearer to the value that we obtained earlier times. Okay, over a long period of time it may change. Over a long period of time it may change, because we're dealing with human beings. Human beings are very complex. If their mood is good, and if they read the things very well, if they there are certain errors in measurement, but we don't, because we are human beings. So, and when we collect data over a particular period of time, it is valid. But if it is very old, because we are in an era of modernization, liberalization, privatization, globalization, our thinking, our attitudes, everything is changing. So over a long period of time it may change, but the scores over a particular 15 days, 20 days, or 30 days period of time, it should be consistent. The values or the scores that should be consistent in different periods of time, but not very long period of time. Long period of time it may change. Now, for example, a scale which has been developed before 10 years. Now what we do, we try to modify the scale. We try to modify the scale according to the contemporary situation. Otherwise, it may not give the same result. But yes, if that you do it, after today you do it, and after 15 days you will do, almost it will give you the consistent score. But nowadays what we are doing, we are changing the scale. We are changing the scale according to the adaptability of, for example, industries very expanding very fast. Mergers, acquisition occurring very fast. Even Air India, what happened to Air India. Now, if you take the, when it was Air India, now it is Tata. If you take the employee opinions, the same scale that you have taken during Air India, and now it is Tata, it will change. The score will change. Considerably it will change. Considerable. That's why we change the items. Many of the items, they become irrelevant over a particular period of time, over a very long period of time, not very short period of time. But reliable means it should be consistent over a period of time. If you repeat it, it should be consistent. That is what reliability means. Then you come to validity. Now, in addition to being reliable, a measurement should be valid. Okay. Now, if a measuring device measures what it is supposed to measure, the device is valid one. For example, we measure temperature, yes or no? Through what? Thermometer. The thermometer is very reliable because it is meant for measuring the temperature. It is not made for measuring something else, measuring length. You cannot use a thermometer for measuring length. It is a constant. It is a device which can be only used for measuring the temperature. Okay, so for validity, the researcher must use his own or her judgment whether the particular tool that we are using, that is valid or not. Okay. So I've given an example. To weigh an object, one will use a weighing scale, not a scale that measures length. This is what we're talking of validity means. Okay, appropriate tool for measuring a particular phenomena, and you must use your own judgment for validity. Okay. I'll not go for this one. Then we come to the qualitative and quantitative research. I've talked about the various attributes of the quantitative research. Now I will tell you about something about the qualitative research. It is not possible within this short period of time. That's why I've shortened it because so I've told you that this quantitative research, these are empirical methods where you go to the field, you collect the facts and figures, and you analyze and interpret the phenomena. Very simple. Whereas in qualitative research, you find out what are the reasons for such trends. In quantitative research, it will not tell you. I've told you, it will not tell you. But in qualitative research, what are the particular reasons behind this particular phenomena? Now, for example, there was a lot of debate, recently. Poverty is a state of mind. Someone in the parliament said that poverty is a state of mind. It is not based upon the actual income that you are earning. You understand, no? So what is the reason behind this poverty? We are more concerned in qualitative research. What is the reason behind empowerment, that the women, they are not empowered? That we are concerned in qualitative research. Okay, now in qualitative research, I have given some example. Social and behavioral sciences, including women's and gender studies. If you want to go for women's and gender studies, you can go for qualitative research. Okay, now if you want to understand the various factors that influence human behavior, what are the factors which are, so you can go for qualitative research. Okay, now if you want to study the history of women's movement, okay, that will go under the qualitative research. Okay, if you want to study the role of society in shaping women's identities and the perception on status of women, you go for qualitative research. Some of the areas where qualitative research can be done. Now, this is the table that I have made. Quantitative research and qualitative research. Quantitative research, they based upon numbers, applying measurement procedures to social life. Okay. These are qualitative research. These are also based upon numbers, but applying based on words to present the analysis. So this word is important. And this coding of words is very, very important in qualitative research. That coding is, you can take up in, ma'am, you can take up another lecture on how to code these words. Then those who have really done, because most of us, we have done this quantitative research, but qualitative research, how this coding, and now software has been developed also. for coding these words to present the analysis. Okay, now here in quantitative research, it is the researcher's point of view. This is on the researcher's point of view. But whereas in qualitative research, it is the participant's point of view. Participant's point of view. This is one of the, Then in quantitative research, you can use, I told you in the theory, you can test a particular theory. But in qualitative research, you will come out with a particular theory, that is emergence of a theory, emergence of theory. Quantitative research, it is structured. You tell that structured questionnaire. But here in case of this, it is unstructured. Okay. Now quantitative research, it makes generalizations, whereas provides, in qualitative research, it provides the contextual understanding, the reason why is not here. It makes generalization over a wider population. What are the, then this data, this is concrete and reliable. Okay. This data is also concrete and reliable, but it is very rich and deep data. Penetration is there. You penetrate into the data and find out what are the regions for the contextual understanding of the particular phenomena. Okay, and this takes place in artificial settings, whereas qualitative research, it takes in natural settings. Okay, so finally, we come to the limitations of quantitative research. Now, quantitative research methods may be inappropriate in many areas. For example, friendship, love and marriage, choosing a religion, evaluating works of art, which are based upon subjective experiences. Okay, these are all based upon subjective experiences. Here, your quantitative research method will not be appropriate. Okay, now, if we're studying empowerment, there are many crucial qualitative elements of empowerment, but quantitative measures, all attributes do not exist. Okay, but quantitative measures for all attributes do not exist. But whereas in case of, there are many crucial qualitative elements of empowerment, but you cannot measure these attributes in a quantitative research. Okay, then for example, female and male labor force participation rate. This you find in the census. What is the female participation rate and what is the male labor force participation rate? Okay, these are used in measuring economic activity. However, much of women's work in their home, in their family business, it is unpaid. It is unpaid and it is not taken into consideration in the participation rates. Okay, so the labor force participation does not accurately reflect the unpaid work of the women. So that data, how much reliable, how much valid, you can just imagine, because this is a quantitative, this is not only qualitative, but also a quantitative phenomena, which is very difficult, very difficult to measure and find out the exact labor force participation in case of the women. Another very simple topic, violence against women, both inside and outside the home. This is a very important issue, but it cannot be measured with consistency in quantitative data. Now, violence against women, we are going with a scale, we are trying to, get information, but it is not, the data is not valid and accurate. Okay, so many quantitative studies deal with acts of physical violence of women, emotional violence against women. This is very hard to quantify and it is very hard to measure this. Okay. Then general insecurity, including unrest and strife in society. Now it is happening. Unrest and strife in society, this is happening. Now this also poses a risk to women's physical safety as well as their participation in society. But there is not much of quantitative data on these dimensions. Okay. Now, so quantitative research also overlooks the cases specific variations as it needs sufficient numbers to generalize. We cannot do it within 200 or 300 participants, to study the domestic violence in a particular area. It's not possible. So with this, I have given you some of the dimensions of quantitative and qualitative research. Very general. I've tried to put it through examples so that you can understand the various terms which are used in quantitative research, and the qualitative, because it is more focused on coding the words. So I have not given, but only I have given the differences between quantitative and qualitative research. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, participants. Anything? You can, any
May
question?
I have one question, sir?
Yes, please.
What is the software that was developed for coding the wordings, for measuring the qualitative data?
Yes, ma'am, a software has been developed now. It is very difficult actually in coding the different
I would
words.
like to learn it.
I'm not very familiar with qualitative research. In fact, whatever research I have done till today, it is quantitative. I am not
But I am mixing both the qualitative and quantitative research techniques for my research.
Now
I need such software for getting the accurate result.
Yeah, that software I'll let you know. I'll let you know what is the exact year of the software, and doing qualitative research, I have not, for development of a particular theory or I have not gone through. I have not, I have not done. But as I've told you that not all the, what type of research we do, it is both a mixture of quantitative and qualitative, but more of quantitative that we have focused upon. I have not gone exactly, how to do the coding and how to do the EA. Not exactly, I have not done. But some ideas I have got, but it is in a very abstract form. It is not worth of sharing, because I feel that if I am not competent, I should not share something which I am not competent with. So honestly, I'm telling you. But I have tried my, I've given a little bit effort, but when I'll become comfortable, I'll come back to you.
Sure, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Now the floor is open to the participants. If you have any queries or questions, you please can you can post it in the chat box, or otherwise you can unmute yourself and post questions to the those who are in the Zoom. And for the people who are in the YouTube, they can post their questions in the chat box so that I will read them to the sir, and he will clarify your doubts. Any questions, please? Thanks for the session, sir. This is Vinod Babu. What are the limitations of qualitative research?
There is no limitation of qualitative research. If you do it properly, it will add more knowledge. It will add more knowledge base to the quantitative research that we are doing. There is no limitation, because it is from the participant's perspective, not from the researcher's perspective. So you can always, you are welcome to do, and and you should come out with a particular theory if you are studying a particular phenomenon. I always welcome qualitative research than quantitative research, although I am not very conversant with the process of qualitative research. But limitations, no, it is always from a participant perspective. So but the coding procedure, that is a little bit tedious. And need to understand, you need to go into depth, and then if you can do it, nothing better than that. Any other question, please? Ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Any other question?
I am also waiting for their questions, sir.
Okay.
If you have any questions, please post them, or otherwise you are free to ask, sir.
I expect a question from Madhavan sir, assistant professor in English. And he wanted to know something towards the end of the session. Madhavan sir, if you are here. No. So ma'am, you can end the session if you like.
Okay, thank you, sir. Actually, it is a great privilege and honor for me to propose vote of thanks on behalf of the Women's Studies Center for the second day capacity building program on research methodology for social sciences. I would like to thank our today's resource person, Professor B.P. Sahu, for delivering such an astonishing speech with regard to the qualitative and quantitative research items. Actually, he has covered all the aspects such as the objectives of quantitative research, basic elements of quantitative research, and concepts and constructs beautifully related to these concepts and constructs to the women's studies, gender studies, and variables, and different types of variables, etc., whatnot. He has covered almost all the aspects relating to the qualitative and quantitative research. And thank you, sir. My special thanks are due to you. And I must be very thankful to you for accepting my invitation to be the resource person and also delivering such an astounding speech during this session. Thank you so much. And actually, I got very good feedback also from the participants in YouTube, both in YouTube and Zoom links. And my special thanks are due to our head, Professor G. Sandhyarani Madam, the organizing secretary, for her constant direction and show up given to me in organizing this beautiful program. I have become an instrument in organizing such a beautiful program, and I am also learning along with the participants. I must feel happy being an instrument for this program. And I would like to thank all the teaching and non-teaching staff of Women's Studies Center and the department for their support in organizing this one-week capacity building program on research methodology for social sciences. And also, I must be thankful to Dr. M. Sucharita, who is assisting me in all the, in covering all these programs, and also in he is in touch with me in all the aspects, and she is also trying to guide me how to conduct this program, this important program. I must be thankful to Sucharita also, and I would like to thank all the participants of this program, without whose cooperation and participation this program would not be a successful one. And there is a small announcement for the participants. Our friends have already posted the feedback link in the chat box of YouTube and Zoom links. So I request all of you to submit your feedback link, and those who submitted their feedback link will only get tomorrow's link for joining YouTube. And this is the foremost important announcement for the participants. So I request you all to submit your feedback link. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us for today's program. Thank you so much, sir. So kind of you.
Thank you, Madam Sandhyarani. Thank you, Dr. Uma. Thank you, Dr. Yani, who is working behind Madam, and Sucharita, and all the participants for giving me this opportunity. And I hope that I have contributed a little bit for your understanding. And and thank you so much, Dr. Uma, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I must be thankful to you, sir. So kind of you, sir. Now the session will be open until 10 more minutes for submitting the feedback by all the participants. So you are free to, you can fill the feedback link and please submit and then leave the meeting.
నన్ను పెట్టావు ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ సబ్మిటెడ్ అని
मैंने YouTube में भी रख लिया मैडम फीडबैक लिंक को, आप देख सकती है।
ఓపెన్ చేయొచ్చు కదా నా అందరం అడిగాము
Shall I wind up the session, please? Shall I, sir?